everyone, welcome to the bonus episode. It's halfway through the year.
We're halfway through 2023 already.
That's right, so we're going to talk about what happened during this half of the year with the show and the podcast, and round everything up for you.
We always do this. This is, well, I don't know how many years
what
we've
were
been
you
doing
expecting?
this. What were you expecting? It's nearly...
If you're like me, you probably forgot that we do this.
I don't. I always look forward to this, because when I'm planning, my weeks in advance, and sometimes I'm like, I don't know what we're going to do this week, character profile or whatever, I always know last week of June, this is when we go through the first half of the year, and it's always kind of fun to do, to look back.
Pre-birthday.
It is. It's always the pre-birthday podcast.
Pre-Independence Day week for Americans.
I don't care about that. So, 2023. I've got a few views about it, but anything you want to share particularly about how's 2023 been for you, for Corrie? Good, bad, indifferent?
Oh, you know me, I don't have opinions on things.
What?
I like to go with the flow. Well, surely we will uncover my opinion as we go through.
I would say, because I've thought about this, I'm mentally prepared for today. I will often compare to the previous year, and then I get any further back, and I've completely forgot what happened. But last year, when I think back on how 2022 started, it was a really slow start to the year. And we had the stuff with Joseph going to Portugal or not. We had what was that?
Portugal or not? It's like, here's a random ticket to anywhere. Could be Portugal, could be not.
I don't even remember what we had, but I just know that for the first few months of 2022, it was slow.
We were floundering.
Then we had Abby having her baby, and that was a brilliant storyline, and it brought in Abby and Imran and Toya, some of our favourites. There was the whole, is Toya going to find out about it? What's going to happen? There were the rumours that Charlie DeMello is leaving. We're thinking, how's that going to happen? And then that culminated in a really quite exciting Britain's Got Talent week. And the year really got going there. I would say, in comparison to that, 2023 has been better in that the lows have not been anywhere near as bad as the lows at the beginning of the year. There haven't been too many real lows for this year for me, but I would also say that the highs have not been as high. Although there's been lots of kind of fairly big-ish storylines this year, definitely compared to last year, nothing has quite reached the hype levels for me of what we had last year with the baby drama. Was it the year before that we had Seb's attack, Seb and Nina attack? Before that we had some of the climactic parts of the Yasmin and Jeff. The Yasmin attacking Jeff was the year before that. I don't think that anything's quite reached there to me, but on average, I've been enjoying more. And more has felt like big stories, because you've had the Stephen story has obviously been a big one that's been running through the year. The acid storyline, the stalking and the acid storyline's been huge. There's been Paul's MND story, big issue story, the rape story, There's been more that's felt like...
quite consequential.
Yeah, and, hello awards bait, that kind of stuff.
Well, do they need to bait the awards? They swept the board, kind of.
Well, yeah, they did. I mean, if we're
British
thinking about
awards.
how's 2023 been for Corrie on the old award front, very good on the soap awards front. There's been other awards that they haven't got. For example, there was the TRIC awards this week that I think Emmerdale and EastEnders won, and I do kind of. Not that I do much looking around on what's going on with the other soaps, but I do get the feeling that EastEnders is doing very well with the fans at the moment. Its new boss who came in last year has really turned the show around. And Coronation Street, there's always going to be calls for the producer to leave if they've been in there for long, and Ian McLeod has been there a donkey years at Coronation Street now, it feels like. But yeah, I'm feeling generally fairly positive, but just with a little undertone of, I just want that one story, I just want that one thing to absolutely 100% grip for me.
I know what you mean. So the main stories, like you said, run them down. We've got the Stephen serial killer storyline, we've got the stalking/acid attack story, we've got Damon and Sarah's affair, we've got the MND storyline with Paul, and we have the rape storyline with Aaron and Amy.
So what's kind of leading it for you so far? This
is the thing. So if you look back on many years of Coronation Street, you can quite often say that was the year of. And at the moment, I'm thinking maybe it's just going to be Stephen's year this year, and that's going to be what goes down in Corrie history for 2023,
I'm
lots
not
of people
sure
are
if
going to
it
get
will.
lots of people are going to get mad about that. You know I'm not going to be, but I think the stalking and the acid attack that's peaked already. I feel.
Yes, I think it probably has. I mean, we're definitely in the aftermath of that storyline now, and there's been a lot that I've enjoyed with it. Paul's
MND storyline is
up to 3 years to go.
possibly going to be the major storyline of this year. I made that prediction in the Street Talk a while ago. I don't know when I said it, but I thought that perhaps Paul's storyline might end in some kind of noble sacrifice where maybe it's going to link into Stephen's storyline, and he's going to save a victim of Stephen's potentially, and end up, dying before MND takes him. Is that going to of satisfy people? I don't know either, but those two storylines really do feel like the major storylines of this year. But last year, like you said, the Abby storyline seemed like the key one, but it was nowhere near. It was nowhere near
as big as say
an storyline as
the Seb story or the Jeff and Yasmin.
Well, even like the Platt, Callum and Platt.
No, it didn't. No way. And I like to say these storylines this year don't quite feel that way for me. Interestingly though, if you look at what's getting nominated, it is generally the acid attack stuff that's going up for up to be nominated. Charlie Jordan, Ryan Prescott, they're getting all the nominations at the moment. So it's interesting how that one seems to be the one that's capturing people's imaginations the most, and like you said, I think it's just because the Stephen storyline is just so very controversial. I'm not convinced that is what's going to go down as the big one for this year.
If controversial is the right word, I think divisive is the right
divisive
word.
Yeah, that's a better word.
So like when you look at what is on the slate for this year, there are 3 issues-based storylines and 2 kind of just very soapy ones. So
I wonder whether it's a reaction to people saying that there just weren't as many big stories last year.
Well, Stephen's serial killing and Damon and Sarah's affair, they are not issues-based storylines. They are just soapy, tropey nonsense, which is just about the drama.
That's the soap bread and butter, really,
and then,
isn't it?
The acid attack, the MND, and the rape storylines are all things that Coronation Street can link into charities and they're very noble and fingers on the pulse kind of things.
Yeah, and all of those storylines on the whole have been ones that I have definitely enjoyed elements of.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
As frustrated as I have been with some parts of it, like, bits of Sarah Louise story I've definitely been frustrated with. Absolutely, the acid attack story, there are bits that I'm not. It's mostly the stuff with her kissing Ryan and just the will they won't they kind of aftermath of the acid attack is not quite hitting the right marks for me. But on the whole, what do I think of the Justin, Daisy, Ryan storyline this year? Great, it's been fantastic. All of the stalking stuff kept me gripped for the first how long was it, 4 or 5 months of the year that was going on. Justin made for a really interesting baddie, didn't he? He was just that level of creepiness that you'd want for a stalker in this kind of story. He played the character Andrew Steele did of the kind of unhinged, not really completely in touch with reality, deluded, persistent stalker absolutely perfectly. And Daisy as the beautiful damsel in distress, if you like, kind of victim, was brilliant. And then combined with the wedding with Daniel, that for me I was on the edge of my seat for that one.
Have I missed something, or have they had Justin's sentencing?
No, I don't think they have yet.
Because we've got Griff's sentencing that's kind of bubbling up into the
that was mentioned this week, wasn't it?
So that feels like a second half of the year storyline. Maybe we're going to get more of Griff and not Beck. What's her Sabrina,
Lauren,
Gav, Lauren, Max.
I don't know whether we're going to see Griff again. Can we
Spider and Toya? I'm just saying predictions for the second half of the year. Those feel like definite possibilities.
Can we park that?
Yes.
So Daisy storyline. What's been your kind of overall impression of that one?
Promising start, faltering now. I feel because they've turned it into a fairly run-of-the-mill affair storyline, and we've already got an affair storyline going on with
with Damon
people.
and Sarah, yeah. And I don't know how it's going to get out of this. I mean, obviously it was leading up to the acid attack, and that was a really kind of bold move for Coronation Street, and certainly not something that we would have seen coming, although apparently we did predict it. We say so much about Coronation Street, we're bound to hit a mark.
We throw spaghetti at the wall every day, and sometimes there's enough to make a meal out of.
Very occasionally some of it sticks there. So yeah, that was a big move and a huge change for Ryan's character that I don't think anyone would have been expecting if you were looking at the way that character was going.
If you were listening to our character profile of him that we did very soon before this all kicked off, where we were saying he hasn't done anything.
But I feel that it would work better if the aftermath was more focused on Ryan's agoraphobia and sort of fear of what people thought of him, which is still part of it, and not just, like you said, yet another affair. And my problem is I do really like Daniel and Daisy as a couple, and I don't like the idea of this potentially splitting them up.
No, it feels like Coronation Street needs to take more of a tip from, you know, those lifestyle, like those women's lifestyle magazines where it's like, I married my husband's corpse, my cat is my best friend, and I've played chess with the ghost of my mother, and all that kind of stuff. Like, how often is the front cover of those kind of magazines like, I had an affair with somebody? No. Acid attack changed my life? Yes, that would be a very interesting feature that you would read. Would you read, I shagged someone I shouldn't have? No. And that's two of the major storylines going on at the moment. Not that Daisy and Ryan have yet, but
not yet.
It's only a matter of time.
Could only be a matter of time, absolutely. Other bits about that story that I really liked, although I think one of them was a little bit undercooked, which was the introduction of Christina as Daisy's mum. Having this,
gone?
I can't remember what the actress is called now,
but
she came in for a bit, had that clash with Jenny, and those are two really fantastic, confident performers who really got that, you know, butting heads just right. And then she went off, and then she came back just before the wedding, invited Daisy's friends, in inverted commas, from school, which brought back bullying memories, and then she put a curse on the wedding, which was kind of funny considering how it went.
Yeah, but she hasn't turned up to cry over it. That was played by Amy Robbins.
Oh, thank you. It feels like it was a great character that was... It felt like more should have been done with her, and I think that the story possibly could have happened pretty much exactly in the same way if that character didn't exist. And to get such a great actress in on the part, I don't know, maybe there's something missing there, but I did enjoy what we saw of her. And then, of course, you know, the big thing with this story was the acid attack episode, which I think for me has definitely is still up there as the best episode of 2023 so far, even though it had that slightly dodgy dream sequence at the beginning, which I didn't really like.
There's a lot of extra editing going into Coronation Street.
There is actually. That's something that's creeping in more and more, and it has been
mixed results for us.
Yeah, it has been a little bit, you know, over the past 5 years, but it does feel that 2023 they're ramping it up, and sometimes it's even just a case of this scene is going to start with a blur in for no particular reason.
So what was the one we just watched? And there was a blurry bit. It was Evelyn watching her daughter walk away from her, and it blurred for a second, like she was. I don't know if I can trust what I've seen now. And sometimes it really works, and sometimes it doesn't. And I can tell you right now that it's just a personal opinion. I'm not saying at all that my opinion is the definitive one at all, because I know that I flip-flop on it too. I don't have... There's no way to predict what I'm going to think.
Sometimes it works really, really well, and sometimes it's like, why on earth did you choose to do that?
So when Stephen killed Rufus, I loved that editing, and that was really intensively kind of disruptive editing. And I like the stuff with, like I said, Evelyn and her daughter. But other things, like the beginning sequence where the acid attack, where we had the fake wedding or like dream sequence with Daisy, and she was imagining, you know, that was too cheesy for me. I didn't really like that. But you also didn't enjoy the moment of the acid attack when Daisy was writhing around on the floor and it was all a bit wibbly wobbly, wasn't it? No, that was mostly because I found it kind of frustrating from a feminist perspective of, you know, here's a pretty girl and she's been attacked and she's just screaming on the floor like a heroine from the 50s. But that's not really, you know, I'm sure if I had acid thrown on me, I wouldn't be like, I'm going to brave it out for feminism.
It makes sense to me that this story is happening because Charlie Jordan really is Corrie hot property at the moment, isn't she? So it makes perfect sense to take advantage of that, put her on the front of the soap magazines, give her the big story.
Give her a lovely dress.
Exactly.
More than one wedding, you know.
Yeah.
I hope that she will marry Daniel in the end and we'll get to see her in a different dress just because I love wedding dresses. And we also got to see her try on wedding dresses when she was trying to pick her, even though it's hideous.
So that's been, for me, quite a good storyline with its bumps. Probably I'd say the same for the Stephen one. So this is, as you say, the most divisive story of the year so far. But people I've noticed on the fandom are starting to warm towards it as they're realising, oh, this is meant to be farcical.
There's definitely a contingent of people who will never ever like this story and just hate it. And I'm really interested as to why, but I don't feel like it's going to be a productive conversation to speak to people that hate it, because I hate things for no reason too. It's just an emotional reaction. Some people just don't like serial killers and Corrie.
Some people just don't get on with Todd Boyce's acting style either, do they?
The more you progress through Coronation Street over the years, the more you're just going to have to accept that you cannot use the argument, it's not Corrie, when you have a serial killer on the street, because they just come up every sort of 5 years or so. It's like locusts coming out of the ground.
Yeah. So some things I've been really enjoyed about this story. Teddy's murder with the hole punch was just great.
Lest we forget also the roof box farce.
That was when they were lifting the roof box. I was disappointed that we didn't get the episode of Audrey driving up to the Lake District, stopping off at Bev's house, and some kind of mishap going on with this body in the roof box. That was a bit of a shame for me. Rufus's death, absolutely, that was brilliant. I would say that's my scene of... No, it's not my scene of this story so far. My scene of this story so far this year was the Stephen trips out on LSD. That was a really, really brave move from Coronation Street.
So many great scenes. Oh,
with all the editing, that was just really the sort of thing that could have gone utterly wrong for me. But I was just enthralled throughout the whole of it, enthralled and entertained with the melty faced Sarah, with the Leo and Teddy in the audience, with the picture changing to look like him. Just fantastic.
I'm gonna say, and sorry because I don't normally like to talk about Patreon things because, you know, not everyone's a Patreon member, but when Stephen's story is over, we have to do top 5 Stephen scenes.
Do you reckon?
That might put people off of our Patreon, but it might entice some other people. I'm just gonna say that Stephen, love him or hate him, has had some incredibly iconic scenes in this storyline.
Yeah, he has. Some scenes that people will remember.
Yeah. For good or bad. And I love it.
But the bits in the story that don't work as much for me, like, I'm not really into the whole nipper snapper thing. I don't buy that this idea of Michael's is this hot property in the undergarment. No, it's not undergarments, is it? In the fashion world, and that it needs to be sold to America, and everyone wants to buy in. All this businessy kind of stuff, like Stephen ousting Carla. It wasn't as fun as just a plain old murdering for me.
No, but it feels like these are all necessary elements.
They are necessary, but they're not my favourite
to get them
bits.
to where we are now, where we have very important players in the show involved. So, you know, Carla's stepping back. We've got Owen, who's a potential victim. We've also got Michael, who could be the sacrificial lamb that sort of makes Stephen into a true serial killer icon, because, you know, Stephen hasn't killed anybody of note on Coronation Street as of yet. Sorry, actors who played those 3 characters who were killed off. But
yeah,
you know,
and there's also the Jenny element as well, which I feel that I just want to get her properly into the story now, because she's just on the fringes. This is what I mean.
I don't mind it being dripped out, because I honestly think that this is going to be up until Christmas. I don't know. You guys know we don't really know what they're doing. I don't know how much they've planned in advance, but if Stephen's story is like one of the major things that happen at Christmas time, I'm gonna have a very Merry Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. You mentioned the Max story.
Oh, and hang on, no, and Tim.
Oh yeah,
Tim's also,
involvement as well.
Tim and Jenny are, and Michael, in kind of, Jenny goes Jenny, Michael. No, Tim. I don't know. Tim and Jenny are kind of.
What you're ranking?
I'm just trying to say who he could kill any of those three characters, not Jenny, and he could really make a mark in Corrie history. If he kills Jenny, I'm going to kick off.
He's not going to kill Jenny.
He could kill Tim.
He's not going to kill Tim.
He could kill Tim.
Michael, he could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
yeah.
on the whole, I would say yes, I'm loving this story, but it is really risky having such a divisive story continue for so long. Out of all the big stories this year, this has been definitely the longest running, I would say. So something else that's been good this year, I still think, has been the Max story. It came to a conclusion.
That's been running since last year, like the Stephen one.
Yeah, that started around the same time, but it kind of finished, didn't it? And now it's just having its revival now that Max is out of prison, and we've got the introduction of Gav and Sabrina, which are absolutely fantastic additions to the street, although I'm not sure how long they're going to stay. That story, I mean, if I think back about big moments of 2023, we did have things like the bomb attack episode, which is possibly memorable for the wrong reasons. Max actually being sent to prison was an interesting choice as well that I wasn't necessarily expecting, and we are seeing the redemption of him, which is pleasing to me because I do actually quite like Max, and it's nice to see that he really wants to be a good guy, and but not everybody on the street is we're so willing to accept him to accept that. Yeah.
So one of the unspoken things about Max's storyline is the introduction of Gav and Sabrina, and they are two new black characters. And before, the Baileys were the only black characters on the street. We've lost two of the members of that family with James and Grace.
Yes, Grace was member of the family. Yeah,
she was a sort of satellite of that family. And now we've got an extra two black cast members, and I really think it's important to diversify that. Absolutely. Because there's so much pressure on the Baileys, and I feel really bad for the actors and the characters and the writers to sort of have to represent an entire spectrum of people with this one family, and all the criticism that's been sort of levelled at them for various reasons.
So I had to put up with an awful lot.
So I think that the fact that we've introduced Sabrina and Gav, really positive, like that. Hope they stick around. Why wouldn't they?
This has also been a good year for Dee Dee as well, hasn't it?
Yes.
Shanique Sterling-Brown joined the cast last autumn. Little bit of a quiet introduction. She had that great first scene.
She hasn't had her own
near
story.
The beginning where she was defending James at the football stadium, but she's been on the back burner a little bit. But being involved tangentially with the Sarah Louise storyline and the Paul storyline, they've really developed her character, and I'm liking her even more now than I did at the beginning. And I already quite liked her at the beginning. And she won the Best Newcomer Award at the British Soap Awards
Very
as well,
positive.
so that's great.
So the only thing I will say about the Max storyline was that it did contribute to our sort of disillusionment. Is that right? The right word?
I don't know. Finish your sentence.
Where at the beginning of the year, it felt like no consequences existed. So things could happen in Coronation Street, and the next week, nobody remembered. So Max, was responsible for a stabbing and a bomb. Kind of.
Alia would say he was responsible.
The white supremacist storyline involved those two things, and it felt like it was just run of the mill. That's what happens. Weatherfield, move it on, move it on, move it on. One week, Ali's being blown up in a van. The next week, it's like, oh, Freddie's owner's in hospital. What will we do with him? Who's going to babysit the dog? It felt like things moved too quickly with that, and like I said, no consequences. But I really feel as though Corrie's back on track a bit more with that.
I was a bit disappointed that the story ended as early as it did. I was expecting it to run longer, and once we had the bomb, not long after that we had the stabbing. I think it was the other way around.
It's over.
Maybe it was the other way around. It's not completely over, but the whole Griff angle and really Spider's involvement, which I was enjoying, that just fell off the face of the planet.
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think
it may well come back, but Spider has not been in it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with you there. But they literally mentioned this week the sentencing's coming up. Somebody's contacted you. What do you think about Griff? it's all come back again.
Yeah.
You can't say it's disappeared because it literally appeared, and this is the 6-month period. You can't have a cut-off point for the end of June and then ignore things that happen just because they happen at the end of June and say it's not consequential.
Something else that I enjoyed about the Max storyline, which Corrie still doesn't do as much as I'd like them to, is have the crossover with other stories. So where Max got Daniel's phone and then he was the one to find out about Daisy pretending to be Crystal, that was really clever, and it was completely unexpected, partly because Corrie doesn't do that sort of thing very much. So I like that experimental element of it. Other positives for me, I think that the Paul storyline, I would say I'm enjoying it, but I would hesitantly say that I'm enjoying it. I don't dislike terminal illness stories quite as much as you do, but it is a little bit miserable. But on the flip side, there have been the positive scenes, haven't there? And that's what I'm really enjoying.
I'm actually surprised at how much Coronation Street is managing to make this into a positive storyline. I don't know whether people are in denial or what I'm supposed to really think about this, but as a viewer who does need to... You know, it's selfish when real people are going through this kind of thing, but when you're watching something for entertainment value, you need a bit of balance, and I think this is realistic to what you would be like. I think you would put your head in the sand at the very early stages of this and just concentrate on what can I do to make my life happy in the time that I have left. And then we're at that stage in Paul's diagnosis where it's all generally positive, and I'm dreading where this is going to go.
It's not going to have a happy ending, is it? So I'm appreciating this while I can.
When the decline comes, it's going to be even more upsetting to watch. But just watching everybody get on with each other, and I tell you another thing that it's doing is it's building a community spirit in Coronation Street, which is one of those. It feels artificial in this day and age because lots of people don't know their neighbours. I'm not really sure whether it's a fake nostalgia for something that never really happened in most of the country, where everybody got on with each other and we all supported our local friends and things like that. But it's nice to see people rally around Paul and try their best to, just things like the darts tournament with him, everybody using their non-dominant hand. And bits of the wedding as well, with Gemma and Paul having a bop on the dance floor was lovely. Gemma's wedding dress, fantastic, definite highlight of 2023 for me. And I do hope that there are still these moments of levity in this story as we go forward, especially if it's going to go on for years potentially. Never thought that Gemma's wedding to Chesney would be a real highlight of Corrie in a year, but it was. And I'm when you keep saying, how many years, I keep thinking to myself, I'm totally convinced, when you get yourself a theory and you just convinced that's what's going to happen, I am just convinced that Paul is going to sacrifice himself for something somehow.
You reckon?
I really do. I if at Christmas, so this is my prediction, Christmas Day, Stephen's trying to kill somebody and Paul jumps in the way. Maybe he's running him down with one of the scooters from Seven Feathers or whatever it was. I don't know. But,
I'm afraid that EastEnders has already got Christmas Day timed up for the murder drama.
I know. The flash forward that we had.
Oh, I'm so jealous that Corrie's not done something like that.
Maybe next year.
But yeah, with this storyline, with Gemma, I'm feeling that she is absolutely tolerable for me, and we always used to love Gemma when she first came in, didn't she? But when it was the height of oversaturation of Gemma, I'm thinking going back the last 3-4 years or so, the caravan holiday scene, all the stuff with the Fresco 4 and all the gross out stuff. I did love Gemma before, but I was really my faith was tested there, and it's nice that she's just being a supportive sister, still having nice smiles. Bernie, I'm enjoying in this as well.
Bernie
the Crystal
and Gemma
stuff's kind of fun at the moment.
Have come into their own in this storyline, and it's very nice to see those two actresses being used.
Yeah, well, Jane Hazelgrove has got so much acting clout, but I feel that up until this point, Bernie's been more of a bit of a throwaway side character, a bit of a comic relief, and this has given her the opportunity to sort of show what she's made of. The other thing with this story as well, we were talking about crossovers between stories, and we did have Paul pinching Rufus's car, didn't we? And I do wonder, because eventually Stephen's going to get found out with the Stephen thing. His tie pin that's completely been forgotten about now, hasn't it? But it's clearly going to be the key somewhere. Stephen having his wonky tie pin. And I so wish that it wasn't written in the script for Sean to have said, "Oh, look at your tie pin, isn't that lovely? Oh, it's looking a bit loose." I wish that they had him wear the tie pin, and at the end, he did, after the swimming pool scene, he didn't have the tie pin, and maybe nobody would have noticed, but then they could have gone back and said, "Look, it was there all along. That was going to be the clue," because it will be, that gets Stephen linked to Rufus's murder. But the fact that they had Sean saying, "Oh, look at that tie pin," it just warmed us up for looking at something happening with the tie pin. So I'm a bit disappointed with that, but I don't know how it's going to get found out, because surely this tie pin would have been discovered by now when the police comb the area. But it has got to be a key somewhere for his downfall.
No, it feels like a Pat Phelan earring.
No, I really, really don't think so. This is going to get him caught. The other big storyline then this year, the rape. That's had its good points and its bad points. I think the actual episode with the rape itself was incredibly well done. Amy and Aaron going back to the flat, getting drunk. There was some more wibbly wobbly editing a bit, and the moment when he kind of flops her onto the bed and then the pants go on the floor, that was really creepy, chilling stuff. And although there were elements of the story afterwards, especially with Ardy afterwards, like when he drew on Aaron's head, that was great.
I love that.
It felt like the story stopped and started a bit much. I liked the ending as well, but I was expecting...
The ending was realistic, but I know a lot of people felt that it was anticlimactic, and I would really, really urge those people... I don't normally, have a conflict with people about their opinions on things, because I really do feel as though, and I've said this, I encourage people to write in and tell us what they think if they don't agree with us. But this is one of those examples where I really think if you didn't like it, I want you to think about why, and I want you to think about why Coronation Street did it, and I want you to acknowledge that it's frustrating because it's realistic. And if you're upset at how the story ended with no real justice for Amy, turn that frustration and rage into action and do something about it, even if it's just standing up for people who have gone through this, or accepting people if they have a story to tell you. Even that's just the minimum that you can do. Because I'm sorry, but this is real life. Coronation Street did a really good job on that. I'm really proud of them for how they handled it, because we were sort of confused quite a lot of the time about how is this going to end, how is this going to come to a conclusion.
And it felt like it was so natural and easy the way that they did it, but it was just right for me. There was just bits in the middle that I wasn't as excited by, and the storyline stopped for a bit. When we heard that there was going to be this big rape story, we thought it would be a big rape story, and it felt it was over after.
There was going to be a...
Well, maybe that's my fault. We were told there's going to be a rape story. Aaron's going to rape Aaron. Aaron's going to rape Amy. This Mr. Nice Guy is going to...
Was I?
Well, we were invited. We went along to the Zoom interview session with James Craven, didn't we?
Yeah, that was in Manchester, when we were in Manchester.
Yeah, so we knew that it was going to happen.
No, but I think I had a different idea. I think that I'm a bit more, without wishing to brag, I think I've got my finger a bit more on the pulse of women's issues than you do.
I just thought that it was going to last longer and have bigger shockwaves and ramifications, and it feels like a couple of months in, including many weeks where the story didn't feature, it's now over. But it's still clearly having some effect on Amy, but I don't know. It feels
I really want
it just
Amy.
Ended before I was expecting.
I really want Amy to move forward in the second half of this year, maybe involving Toya. I don't know, with this storyline, with the what they call the shoulder volunteers.
Oh yeah, shoulder volunteers. That's right.
I want her to I want them to talk about the lingering trauma without. Again, it's difficult because it's an entertainment thing. You don't want to be really heavy, but you want to be realistic, and you want to respect the people who have gone through this process, and having it's similar to what happened with Aiden's storyline with male mental health and suicide, where loads of listeners contacted us, and it was quite heavy to read people's true life experiences and understand how deeply Coronation Street had touched them. The same thing with Amy's storyline. Many listeners have come, have mentioned to us that they feel like they've gone through a similar thing to what Amy went through. I just hope that I hope that people who went into it with a skeptical view about
was it rape
her
or not,
story have come away, even if they haven't changed their mind, just with a bit of a question in their heads.
Yeah, it has done. I do think it has done a good job with that. What I don't want to happen with Amy, though, is for her to become a figure of misery and be this year's Summer, because I really, really like Amy, and I want to continue to like her. So I want her to be able to find her inner strength to get past this, and deciding to volunteer for the shoulder volunteers or whatever it was is a positive first step in that.
Here's
it's a spunky move.
Here's my thing, you don't want me to talk about what I predict for the next 6 months, but if I had a wish list, what I would really like is for Summer and Amy, because at the moment they're both at loose end. Both of them can't continue their studies until the new year, which I think for lots of students begins in September, October. They're kind of like spinning their wheels. They don't have anything to do, but they both got trauma, and it's kind of related to Aaron, but it's also related to medical things that they can't help. So so Amy was victimized because she's a woman. Summer's issues are based around the fact that she's diabetic. I don't know how they can go through something, but I feel like there needs to be some kind of bonding trauma event where they both have to rely on each other somehow in a desperate situation, and they bring strength to one another and they bond that way, and it feels cathartic and it feels like a renewal for both those characters, where they go through a transformative event together.
Yeah,
do you see what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
know how,
that sounds great. I love it.
I don't know how that would happen, but it would feel like a redemption for those two girls.
And Summer does need it
as they're turning into women.
That's been, you mentioned Summer there. That's been another positive for this year for me, that we have been able to get a bit of a break from her. But as 2022 drew to a close, we were, as a lot of people, just so fed up of Summer being constantly shoved down our throats for basically the back half of 2022. And I did quite enjoy the climax that came a lot earlier than I was expecting, with Summer getting trapped in the Hargreaves house and then going off to hospital and everything. The whole thing with the affair with Mike coming out, that was quite a nice ending. And since then it's kind of petered out, and that's been just right for me.
The thing is about, I was saying about Amy being targeted for being a woman, and Summer was definitely targeted too, because she was able to carry a baby.
Oh yeah.
For Mike and Esther.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're both being victimised because they are women, I feel like is a bit of it feels like a crowbar that we can use to kind of pry open some kind of real character moments for the pair of them. But how, I don't know. Get stuck in a lift. I can't think of anything good, but I really do think that they're on the brink, because I admire that both those actresses. I feel Harriet Bibby has done a fantastic job, even if we found Summer frustrating at times. She's risen to the challenge. She has done what she was asked. I think she's great. We've always liked Amy's actress,
Alma
Mulvaney, who we've done interviews with.
She's
we've
lovely.
Watched her grow as Coronation Street fans.
So glad that
those
they kept
two
her
together, and they're going into a year together of like, you mentioned, could they end up in halls of residence or sharing a flat somewhere? There's so much potential. They're both fantastic, and and Asher too.
Yeah,
those three could carry Coronation Street for the next 10 years.
Asher, And the underuse
And
of
even
her
our-
again
you know-
has been a real frustration for me in 2023. We had the thing with her deciding she wanted to be a paramedic after that bizarre pond fall from Nina at the beginning of the year, starting off 2023 with a splash, and she has just disappeared off the face of the earth, really. So as the whole of the Alahans, as
Yeah,
a real
Ardy.
popular family, why aren't the Alahans being used
Yeah.
more? Seriously, come on.
And I'm focusing on those girls, but obviously I would really love Ardy to be involved in it too. I could just imagine like the student house with those characters in. It's like Fresh Meat meets Weatherfield.
Yeah,
if you've seen Fresh
exactly.
Meat, if you haven't seen Fresh Meat, watch it because it's really really good. It's just a comedy show about a bunch of students that live together.
Yeah. Other real positives for 2023 to me, when I was thinking back on it, I want to give a shout out to the stuff, as small as it has been, with Sam and Hope and Eliza. Those scenes where Sam and Hope were on a date together going to the cinema, and he was there with his bow tie and everything, was so cute. Judy Alden still absolutely wonderful. Isabella Flanagan, really, I massively popular, doing a super job with that character, and the character Eliza as well, who I really enjoyed as soon as she came into it. I was kind of sad that she disappeared and was barely used, and we've still not seen very much of her, but that little mini love triangle of 10-year-olds or however old they are, 10, 11, 12-year-olds, was really cute for the few weeks that it lasted. We had the science explosion in the bistro, which was fun.
Science explosion.
That's what it was. It was an explosion of science.
You should write the
synopsis,
movie tagline for that Oppenheimer movie about science explosion.
But yeah, I'd really love to see more of that. But you know, it's a kid's storyline. You're not going to see a whole lot of them, unfortunately. And I'd also like to give a quick shout out to the Aggie and Yvette story as a massive
Brilliant.
highlight for me, despite the fact that so far it's only lasted a week or so. I'm sure there's going to be more to come.
Yeah,
there.
I just loved it. I just love Yvette. I thought she was brilliant.
Yeah, real, for a character that's been in...
Annabella Weir.
Yeah, that's right. For a character that's only been in, 3, 4, 5 episodes or so. Absolutely superb. I've also enjoyed... there's been an awful lot of Evelyn this year, hasn't there?
There really has.
And I don't know whether they're just trying to get her in before she goes off to tread the boards. I mean, she's already doing it now, isn't she? So her time on Coronation Street for now is going to be fairly limited before she takes a bit of a lovey break.
They just managed to fit in the... They knew that we were doing this. Coronation Street revolves most of their storylines around what
Our
we
schedule,
think
of
in our
course.
schedule of podcasting. So they knew we were going to do this 6-month review. So they just pipped in that amazing, you said 9-minute long scene between Claire Sweeney, who
Cassandra.
is, a coronation, a soap legend from Brookside in this country, and Maureen Lipman, who plays Evelyn. Those two together, just that very prolonged scene with the confrontation, the frustration. I mean, watching those two with empathy, you just felt so bad for both of them. They were just...
That was superb. That was the scene of the year
caught
for sure.
in a horrible trap, the pair of them, in this... It's an age-old storyline. We had somebody on Twitter heckling us as though we were Coronation Street writing the stories ourselves, saying I'm fed up with joke storyline. I can understand that reaction. Same way I feel like when we have Who's the Daddy and Affair storylines, where I think I'm not interested in this, but the human drama of it, you cannot deny the power and the sadly age-old problem of addiction.
I'm just a little bit sad knowing that it can't go on for too long because Maureen needs to step away from the street for a while, but hopefully we're going to see some great stuff with Cassandra and Tyrone. Tyrone's had a bit of a quiet beginning to the year, but there's been, it feels like an awful lot of Maureen Lipman, which is perfect for me. She's one of the best actresses on the show by far. Evelyn as a character really, really works for me. And the fact that they've got this, well, the character she had yesterday, she's 77 years old, but somebody of, quite advanced years being given some really meaty stuff to do. Absolutely wonderful.
I know we're going to talk
about... But give her a friend. Give her a friend. I'd love there to be a little...
Yasmin and Roy, perhaps.
She's got Roy. I'd quite like to have a little odd lady friend. Of course she's got Roy, and that's a bit of a funny angle.
I'm not sure whether...
That's not necessarily needed.
Roy is going to be the the confidant. I think it might be Yasmin.
Maybe.
But we'll talk about this more at the end of the week.
I do want to mention Cerberus's death as another absolute show-stopping scene of the year for me. Just heart-wrenching. And when you've got an actress the calibre of Maureen Lipman, you can give her all that kind of stuff, and you know that she's gonna not miss a beat. She's gonna blow us all away, and she did. So sad to lose Cerberus, but glad that we got that scene. All of the Dobbs stuff has been okay for me. Hope getting obsessed with John Stape, that was kind of fun.
I like that, yeah.
But I've not been too fussed on the whole Beth slapping her and the outcome of that. The Marco element to it.
Yeah, what's happened with
It's
that?
been fine.
Are they back together again?
Who? Beth and Kurt. I don't think they are, and the fact that I don't know kind of says quite a lot about the story. I'm not mega impressed by it.
Let's address the negatives.
Are we doing the negatives first? We come back to our neutrals and that.
Let's talk about the bad stuff. There's no. I really wouldn't.
I don't think there's much.
I wouldn't have structured it this way, but you've done positives, negatives, neutrals. So negatives now.
You don't have to go through the order.
Britain's Got Talent Week. What happened in that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a real shame. Well, you know, Paul's diagnosis reveal.
The wedding was really good. The first bit of that week, it was good, and then what happened?
Exactly. Was it Sarah stuff that week?
They didn't have a stunt, and I know that it's a gimmick.
Oh, it was the Justin Court stuff, wasn't it?
You know, it's a big problem with notable weeks. You know, you've got Christmas, you've got New Year's, you've got Britain's Got Talent Week, you've got, what's the other one?
Super Soap
Week. And it feels very formulaic and frustrating. Everything has to hinge around these things, and there has to be something bombastic to kind of bring the punters in. But I feel like Coronation Street made a mistake here by trying to rise above it. And I really do think if they'd focused just on Paul and Gemma, it could have been a character-driven week, but they mixed it too much. They just mixed everything up together. There was no stunt, and I don't want Coronation Street to rely on stunts. But if you set yourself up for it, and you understand that
a bit trapped into
viewers' expectations are going to be, I know it's frustrating, and I don't know what the solution is. But what I do know is that Britain's Got Talent Week felt very much like a bit of a miss.
Yeah, but at least, and I would say that the main misses of the year this year have just been smaller things, like the scene at the beginning of the year where Bernie and Gemma trapped themselves in the school because of the teacher sending Joseph home because he signed in the football pitch. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's like
but it was over soon.
You've forgotten that she's got a deaf child now.
Yeah, it was over soon, so I didn't particularly mind that. I'm disappointed that Peter's bartering story didn't last the whole year because
can't believe
that was so obvious that could have happened, and all it ended up with was now he's got a motorbike that Paul can fall off of, and I wish that had been done differently and that we could just see that carrying on through the year.
They lost their nerve or something.
But well with that, it's not a huge story.
Lawrence and Sean, what the hell happened with that?
Gosh,
it's like we had another serial killer going on the street. I still don't know if he killed his wife or not.
Did you push her off a mountain?
You know, the dentist guy, he got accused of killing his wife. He got offended and he left. It's realistic, but that means it's boring.
That story just went at the end, didn't it? And it is a Sean story, so it is to be expected. But every time Sean gets a story, I think maybe this is going to be the one. And still, I am baffled, utterly baffled by Dylan's inclusion in the show. I know that Liam McShane has had his exams and everything to do, but why is this character in it and he has nothing to do and he's a great actor?
I also didn't like the way Zidane came back and then he went. Frustrating. But, you know, about actors...
over and done with.
Talking about actors being in it or not being in it, we can't criticise too much because we really don't know what the situation is. It could be something personal, could be something to do professionally. Don't know, won't focus on that too much.
No, but the way that Mariam came in and then kind of just forgave him
really
when she
Mariam.
found out about him
really
letting
nice.
her dad die, weird, but over and done with in a couple of weeks, whatever. Same I think with the space storyline, that was a bit of a miss for me about her leaving.
Exits haven't
Jackson
been that
coming
great.
back very tall. Miley kind of
Jackson,
cute.
too tall.
But that's probably the longest running story that was a bit of a swing and a miss for me. But when I just put it up against everything else that I feel has been positive for this year, and I'm not particularly fussed. Oh well, it happened. I've already talked about the Alahans not being in it very much. That's been a bit of a disappointment to me.
My
Obviously,
biggest
Toya
thing,
and Spider.
Toya, Spider, and Abby. You know, Toya and Abby, my
it's
girls,
been a year
love them.
since Abby has
Where
really
are
done
they?
anything of note. It's bizarre, and I get how, you know, after Sally Carman and Joe Datine got married, and after Abby's, you know, she's had a busy few years. Maybe she wants to have a bit of a breather. But it is seriously, it's been a year now that she hasn't had a big story, and this is a character she was up there as one of Corrie's leading ladies.
Yep.
And I don't get that.
I think we've covered the negatives.
Yeah, really not much. The big stories have all had their downsides, like I said, the nipper snapper or what's going on with the acid attack story, but there hasn't been any huge stories that I've felt I just want this to end.
So let's just talk about stories where it's a bit of a mixed bag. So, you know, the bistro stuff with Damon, you know, I really am surprised at how much I'm enjoying the drama, the fallout of the affair with Sarah, Damon and Adam. The thing is about when you've been a Coronation Street viewer for a very long time and you get to a certain age, everything starts to run into each other and you forget, and time has no meaning anymore. And so I feel as though we've only just had a Who's the Daddy storyline with Nick and all that lot. But
Nick and Kylie,
Nick
that was
and
10
Kylie
years ago.
For who was it?
What, the baby?
Yeah.
That was
Harry?
no, Harry's Sarah Lisa. That was
I don't remember. You're gonna have to help me.
Oh my gosh, Lily.
Was it Lily?
Yeah, that was Lily, and that's how old she is now.
Look at her now.
Yeah.
You know, it's been enough time that they can do another one, but it does feel very fresh because I think it is because we started out the podcast talking about that storyline.
Yeah.
So it feels like we've just come back to square one. But
the fact that
I'm enjoying it a lot more now.
Especially
than I
as
thought
they've done the DNA test and it's a little bit different. I'm still not sold on Damon as a character. There's just something a bit unlikable about him, and he's supposed to be unlikable, but it's not necessarily a love to hate way.
They're focusing too much on boring business things,
yeah,
both in the storyline and the
Bistro,
Stephen one.
Bistro, late licensing,
Don't care.
not interested whatsoever.
Stephen, Owen, Carla, Shares, Nipper Snapper.
That never works for me. Well,
Very
very
dull.
rarely. And of course, we lost Jacob in this storyline, which is a bit of a surprise exit earlier in the year, wasn't it? Do you remember Jacob Hay getting beat? He was working in the bistro and he took the drugs delivery, and then he flushed him down the toilet. Then his dad beat him up, and then he was gone. It's like, oh, is that it? Because he was a really popular character. So yeah, that one's had its some good moments, but I'm still a bit lukewarm on the whole affair thing because I am disappointed in Sarah. I think she's made some morally questionable choices in this story.
I don't mind.
I'm sorry.
So the Dobbs household, we've had Hope obsessed with John State, which was a fantastic diversion for me. We had Scylla the chinchilla very briefly, and then she got eaten. Maybe, who knows what happened to her?
Yeah,
not sure.
Not really sure. Maybe it was Peanut after all.
Yeah, Hope framing Peanut, Beth slapping her, Beth then having an affair. Kurt dumping her. I don't know about that.
And some of it was done because Fizz has had to go off to. Well, Jenny McAlpine's had to go off on a maternity leave, hasn't she?
So
and so
her
going off to Norwich to be the supervisor there, it didn't really ring true. But there's only so many reasons for maternity storylines that you can have. I found Brian to be a bit of a hit and miss this year. I've not really got this Isabella story. She's winding me up more than I think she's supposed to.
I like her. I think she's...
I really
don't
want
like her,
to
but
like
I
her,
like
but
watching her scenes.
I've enjoyed Brian kind of being a buffoonishly Italian and doing his Italian hand gesture.
I tell you one
sort
thing,
of thing
I like about this storyline is that for once it's not a southerner who's coming and crapping all over everything and everyone hates them.
Yeah, now it's a foreigner.
Now it's a foreigner,
Yeah.
so...
I also kind of enjoyed but you know, it's never going to win any awards, is it? The whole boat building story with George and the Golden Hind and the Stolen Maidenhead and all that. It was okay, but I just yearn and wish for something really meaty for the Grimshaw family to get their teeth into, because they are, you know, they've been on the street for 20 years
twiddling
now.
their thumbs now.
Do they need to bring back Jason to give this a kickstart? I don't know. Sue Cleaver is a super actress. Gareth Pierce is as well. But
more for Todd, please.
I just feel like the Grimshaws are really spinning their wheels at the moment. Even more so than the Allahans.
So, you know, we've also got George's sister.
Okay, Glenda
with her little big shots. What's going on with that? Estelle came in. She was sort of a big deal, wasn't she?
Yeah, I can't remember who the actress was.
She was,
now,
you know, a big name in the West End circuit, and she's opened this franchise. And we know that some of the kids on Coronation Street, you know, the geographical area, they're going to this school, and Glenda's.
They mention it every now and then. But why?
But I feel like that's going to build up to something, maybe.
It feels like, is it just like a story about Glenda having money woes, or, you know, not getting the return on her investment, and all that kind of stuff doesn't really thrill me or fill me with excitement and anticipation. But it has been good to be able to see Glenda. I think that Dee Dee at the moment has overtaken, and I always compare those two because they came into the show fairly close together, didn't they? Shanique and Jodie. And it started off with Glenda being the main one out of the two of them, but she's had more of a backseat this year, and I really love the character of Glenda, and I'd like to have
Jodie
a
Prenga's
proper,
got star
big,
power,
meaty story.
And her being in the Rovers too.
She's super there. She's absolutely a perfect fit.
There's not been very many trio scenes with those three.
No, there's not. The Rovers are still floundering, unfortunately.
But I love the bits we do get with it.
Oh, and, all we do get is great, but there's just not enough of it. It's too much cafe.
We've also got the thing with Stu and, you know, his daughter and his wife, Lucy and Bridget, in prison.
That's so frustrating
Eliza,
to me. Like, it just feels like they're on the cusp.
He got a load of money. What happened with that?
Just feels to me like they're on the cusp of finding out the truth about what happened with Charlie, is it, her murder? And it wasn't actually Stu's daughter, it was the granddaughter. And when they brought...
hang on, the mum.
Yeah, the mum. Oh, sorry, the other... Yeah, you know, the wrong person has taken the fall for this. But
yeah.
They brought it up for a few weeks. I'm not loving the Nazir scenes. That household kind of semi-works for me, but I do think Eliza's got potential. It's just feeling like, come on, just let this happen, because it feels like something is going to go down there. It's
really good that Yasmin and Stu are together, but there aren't enough scenes of them. So Alia needs to get to sort of pair up with somebody to make that household into sort of more of a big family unit. Because at the moment it feels like you got Stu's storyline, you got Yasmin's storyline, you got Alia's storyline, but they're not unified. It's kind of the same. Yeah,
especially now
with
that
the Allahans.
Yeah, now that Yasmin is floating about in the Roy story.
Yeah,
feels like Stu is superfluous for that, or should I say Stuperfluous? I guess he will be involved, especially if things start to get a little bit amorous between Yasmin and Roy. Maybe, I don't know, but
who knows where that's headed.
I don't not like the characters. Obviously, Yasmin was huge going back 2-3 years, but when that story comes on, it's not making me go, great, the continuing adventures of the Carpenter Nazir household. And as I say, more Eliza would be lovely.
So I think we've covered all the story stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. So, you know,
it's very potted history there of the last 6 months.
I think we've covered the main story beats. So at the beginning of the episode, I said, well, this is what I think. Better than the highs were not as high as last year's highs, but the lows were absolutely not as low as last year's lows. What is kind of your overall impression?
Yeah.
Are you feeling good about Coronation Street?
Yeah, I do. I you know, it's one of those things where if you ask me in a week where I've enjoyed the show, I'm going to be more positive than in a week where I haven't. And luckily this week I've had a really good time watching the show, especially, I think both days this week I've gone, wow, That was really, really good. I enjoyed that.
I never keep records of what we score the weeks, but it feels like we've probably got more in the high threes and maybe even fours this year than we did a year ago, and fewer in the low twos.
It's certainly not scientific.
No, not at all. So a good but not outstanding first half of the year. But I'm still feeling positive, especially with this. I mean, this Tyrone, Cassie, Evelyn storyline is surely going to kick off into something big now. I'm, as same as you, surprisingly intrigued about where the Sarah Louise, Damon, Adam story is going. And definitely, I really, really hope, fingers crossed, that something big is going to go on with Max and Sabrina and Gav, because I just want to see more of those. And hopefully Sam as well. Less bistro, and I am always just waiting to see who Stephen's next victim is going to be, and because that's guaranteed to last, I'm going to say at least 6 months. Then
there you go,
I know that there
Christmas.
is some kind of brightness ahead. I'm not looking at the second half of 2023 and going, well, not much to look forward to there. I hope really, really is. So that's it really. That's an hour of what we think of this year's Coronation Street so far. We do always on these mid-year podcasts talk a little bit about the podcast side of things. How's Conversation Street going for 2023? So we'll do that as is tradition. Gemma, do you want to kick us off with anything? How's the podcast going for you this year?
Where's my ad money?
I knew you'd go straight for that.
Where's my ad money? We want ad money. Anyway, we've started our YouTube monetization, which was really good. Thank you everybody for supporting us by watching videos over there. That's really helping. It's not loads of money, but it's a really nice positive thing to sort of see that effort correlate to something tangible that you can see, and it's helping us. Like, all the money that we get from Patreon or advertising goes straight back into the show. We use it to buy Patreon gifts. We use it to go to Manchester. We pay for postage to send out gifts and
do the charitable donations.
We do charity stuff too. So
MND Association, etc.
So we've gone up to Manchester 3 times this year. So that's every other month really.
Yeah.
I went to the British Soap Awards. We went to go to see the tour. Didn't we?
Yeah.
Go on.
No, I just was going to say, because you started talking about the YouTube, and that was something that we had as a bit of a goal at the beginning of the year, wasn't it? To try and give that a bit more of a push. It was really the beginning of 2020, I'm going to say, that we started putting a lot more on our YouTube channel, and the subscribers have been slowly going up ever since then. And once we got to that point where we could monetize, we did. And
it's never going to be our main focus, and we're never going to look like YouTubers because we're just chucking podcasts up there with no videos.
But I've been genuinely fairly happy with how things are going. It's not like we've suddenly gone a shot up there or anything, is it? But no. I feel quite pleased with the amount of content we're putting on there, including these Street Talk shorts, which was a nice little idea that came to us back in January, February, I can't remember.
So much faff though.
It
takes about half an hour.
It's not always half an hour. It's not.
It does.
But it's something that I think is really fun to do at the end of each episode, and we kind of sit there not really talking about what's going on, don't we, as the program's is happening now, and then we just let it all out in that a 60-second splurge after each one. And it's nice to have something regular, and they make pence, like 1 or 2 pence each if we're lucky, but it's nice to have something that can keep the subscriber numbers going up, which they are. And yeah, exactly. And some people have got no care whatsoever about what we think about the episode initially, but I know that there are definitely some listeners out there who don't want to wait until Saturday morning to find out what we've thought about certain parts of this week's Coronation Street. So the Street Talk shorts, that is there to just provide that immediate reaction. Lots of fun. And we've kind of worked with Coronation Street to get the promotion pictures emailed to us each week, haven't we, so that we can use those in the videos as well, which is very, very kind of them. But going back to what you were... while we're on the subject of YouTube, actually, I've also been somewhat pleased with... I've been trying to do a little bit more of the edity side of things in YouTube. So, you know, in some of the videos that we've done, we've had text appearing on the screen. It's such basic stuff, isn't it? Oh, look, we got words appearing on the screen in our videos. But, you know, where we got the little street sign coming up and the writing appearing. And we've got a few more video podcasts like our trips up north, which we'll talk about in a minute. The AI episode that we did of YouTube. Do you remember that?
That was fun.
That was fun because that was something that we did, which was our first ever, well, second maybe, live streaming, and we had the audience participation, and people were telling us what to type into ChatGPT to ask it about Coronation Street, and I loved that. And being able to use the YouTube channel to engage with our listeners in a different way has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you everybody who supported our YouTube premieres.
And yeah, the premieres, exactly. So that's also something new. We've done lots of new stuff on YouTube for 2023, and the premieres has been an awful lot of fun. We've not done many, 4, 5, 6, I don't know, where we've had videos appear at a certain time in the evening. People have come along, joined in the chat, and they've sort of written. We've been sort of chatting along with them as the videos have been going, and that's an awful lot of fun. But yeah, the best ones of those, I think, have been the trips to Manchester, which I interrupted you talking about 5 minutes ago. So do you wanna remind us a little bit about that?
No. You go ahead.
No, you go. I'm gonna drink my drink. I'm gonna make you tell us about our trips to Manchester.
I can't remember which ones we did. We went up.
We've never.
I know we've done.
What?
Go on.
No. We've never done 3 trips to Manchester in the first half of a year, have we? But it's been great that we've been able to go up to see the precinct. We did the tour and we did the British Soap Awards. Those have been our 3.
Oh yeah, so we went up and we met up with Ali Sinclair, who, congratulations, 30 years on Coronation Street working.
Oh, nearly half of Coronation Street's history, Ali Sinclair has been working in publicity. That is something to celebrate. So it was really lovely of her to give us a couple of hours one morning to show us the precinct.
Yeah, she showed us around the precinct set. We got to see inside Roy's, the factory set, and Carla and Peter's new flat.
Oh yeah, we got the scoop on that, didn't we?
So that was really, really lovely.
It was great being able to go into the factory set because finally, after all, actually I don't know how long the new factory layout's been there. Maybe it's not been so long, but I just didn't understand the way the factory was laid out, and being able to walk inside it has made me go, oh, okay, that's where everything is. That's where the seating area is. That's where the offices are. So that was a really, really cool trip. Speaking of the precinct as well, that's something that we've not even mentioned before, which has been new for 2023 Coronation Street. We were watching the building of it last year, but it wasn't until January this year that it appeared on screen. How are you finding that? Are you enjoying it? Are you finding it's being underused, overused? What's your kind of 6 months in impressions of the precinct area?
They've done a really good job of easing it in, and now I think it feels like a normal place, but it's always going to be a bit jarring in that first initial sort of period where it's introduced, where you're like, this wasn't in the show before.
And now they go there all the time. What's that all about?
It does feel like a Coronation Street location. I'm not going to say it feels real, because it feels like it's in a mould of Rosamond Street, you know, and Victoria Street, where it feels like an addition to Coronation Street.
Yeah, I mean,
it looks real when you go there.
Oh yeah, it is very real. The set designers have done a fantastic job there, and it's obviously given us a few more spaces for characters to potentially live in. We've just got to Gab's flat, for example.
Yeah,
so that's
I
lovely.
wonder, and he's got gnomes and weird flowers outside.
Yeah, I don't really understand.
And also,
why they chose that one.
we know that Abby at one point lived there, but we don't know whether we can see her flat from the set, or if it was somewhere else.
That was when it was a twinkle in the set designer's eye, wasn't it? The problem that I still have with the precincts, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get over it because I haven't with the police station, is just the knowledge of where it is in real life compared to Victoria Street. And it's supposed to be a long way away from Coronation Street, as is the police station, but they can't appear on the screen without me thinking, that's just round the corner. And I wish... That's a bit of, a sausage factory kind of situation, isn't it?
The sausage is made.
Yeah, if I hadn't been there, if I hadn't seen it with my 2 eyes, then I could completely believe that this is far away. But as far as I'm concerned, the police station is just a little stroll away from the precinct. And I know that, round that corner of the precinct, there isn't a sprawling city or estate or anything. It's the car park. and at least with the police, they don't really show the front of the police station very often, do they? But it's feeling like it's, a weekly occurrence. And so I'm constantly having that reminder of the fakeness of it, which isn't nice. And I just hope as the years go on, that lessens a little bit.
We also went up for the tour, so we got to see the visitor centre open. And a little aside here, I wonder, because I don't think they can, but it would have been really cool if Coronation Street could have filmed at some point characters in the little canteen area, just so that they could have got a bit of kudos. I don't know who owns that building. I don't know if it's Continuum or ITV that owns that. I assume it's ITV. Who knows?
I would assume it's ITV, but they lease it out to Continuum.
As a Coronation Street fan, I think we've had loads of really cool things happen this year. We've got the opening of the tour, the Coronation Street experience with the visitor centre, that kind of evolution. We've got the Joni clothing collaboration, and we've also got some new stuff coming out from the co-op, which we'll probably talk about soon.
Yeah.
We can't say anything. We don't know enough about it to say.
We know there's bits. Because some people on our Facebook
bits.
group have posted some genuine Roy's Rolls in Roy's Rolls branding, but there is some other stuff soon.
And more merchandise too from the ITV shop and the Coronation Street experience
like the Trim Up
shop.
North stuff. We
the
got
Fresh
the
Goes bag. I really feel like there's a bit of a renaissance for the fandom,
merch.
And I wonder too if this is a result of Ian McLeod focusing on younger people in the storylines and the younger actors. Has that brought in a younger crowd who are spending money on things that traditionally older people wouldn't? So the Joni clothing is sort of focused quite on the models in the photos. They're sort of 20s 30s kind of age, and the experience, there's a massive spectrum of people that go. If you go on one of those tours, you'll see there's grannies and babies, and everyone in between. So I think Coronation Street is doing a really good job of appealing to a spectrum of people, and we're starting to reap the benefits as kind of like diehard fans of this extra interest. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a really good idea.
I am so thrilled about this Joni collab and the experience, the Coronation Street experience. And
some of that Joni stuff is going to be on sale at the tour as well, I think, isn't it? I believe.
And also the Granada stuff that's at the shop, and the Wonky Duck gin too.
Yeah.
That was obviously at Christmas last year, but I feel like we're in the age of enlightenment.
That tour video that we did, the 5 reasons why you need to go on the Coronation Street tour, that's like one of my proudest ones, because it's got, the usual stuff of our video clips with us talking over, but it's also got 2 sit-down interviews with people who work on the tour. I got me talking to people outside the cabin, doing a proper interview on the
Vox
street
Pop
kind of thing, Vox Poppy stuff. So I'm really, really pleased with how that video went, and I'd like to be able to do more things. Got no time. We are certainly not full-time podcasters by any means. And you said that was a great one to do. And then, like you said as well, the Soap Awards. I mean, the Soap Awards video is now, I think, our 5th most viewed video on our YouTube channel, despite the fact that it's only a month or so old. So I only wish that we could do more things like that if that's what the viewers want. But Soap Awards only happen but once a year, unfortunately, and they don't have a big ceremony for, say, the Inside Soap ones or anything. It
was really nice to have, like a fan's eye view of what it's like to go to the British Soap Awards. I'm just gonna say though, wouldn't it be nice if they let us into the press area?
That would be very nice to be let into the press area. Maybe one year it will happen.
Maybe we could do that one time.
They don't need us, unfortunately.
No, they
but
really don't.
It would still be quite nice.
Who did they have? What's the dog's name?
Hackety Dog.
Hackety Dog. Now, I'm going to say, if you're going to pick who you're going to have inside the press area, you're not going to pick us over Hackety Dog. Because he's got a viral video on the internet, which is quite hilarious, about
normal men.
Innocent men. And I love him so much, but
he probably wouldn't run up the same drinks bill as you would either, darling.
They know.
He just needs a bowl of water.
The canapes and the champagne bill alone for her. But you make up for it because you would just drink apple ties.
That's very true. So that was really lovely being able to go to the Soap Awards. It feels like, we may or may not go back to Manchester in the next 6 months, but it's certainly not going to be as frequent. So it's really lovely when we can do that. And other things for the podcast this year, we've had a few interviews. It's not been many. I've been really, really trying hard to get interviews and hitting a few brick walls, unfortunately. But I was still really chuffed to be able to meet, to talk to Michael Condren, who played Griff.
Yeah.
Lovely guy. And also Vinter Morgan as well, who played Uncle Ronnie.
Ronnie.
We do have more interviews coming. Some of them are going to be very, very soon. I'm not going to say any more, but I am excited that the slight pause in interview frequency is soon to be resolved, for a little bit at least. So there's a little tease for you, because I know that we've definitely got some listeners out there that enjoy watching the interviews and listening to them. We are a podcast after all.
We are, yeah. So I think that's pretty much it for our mini tour of 2023. I'd like to thank you, Michael, for all of the hard work on behalf of myself and the listeners that you put in.
Thank you as well for all your keen observations and witty comments and banter.
No need.
And quizzes.
Yeah, that's right. This whole thing runs on my quizzes.
And tolerance of my borderline obsession with Coronation Street.
Borderline? Interesting. So, yeah, but really it's because you guys listen. Thank you. Honestly, I think Michael would make us do this if we didn't have any.
I can't say we'd be doing the podcast nearly 11 years later if we only had about 10 people listening.
I don't know. I really don't know. But we know that you guys are listening. We know that our listeners have gone up this year, so really appreciate everybody.
Yes, they have.
They really have.
Lovely.
And we are so grateful. And, thanks to our patrons, but also thanks to everybody. If you interact with us, if you click on us, if you like us, if you review us, if you subscribe, if you go to YouTube and you give us a thumbs up.
If you write a comment on Reddit about how lovely Conversation Street is.
Please do feel free to big us up everywhere you can. We appreciate you so much, and we're so grateful for the opportunities. Honestly, you've given us opportunities to do things that we would never have been able to dream of when we first started doing this show. And every year also new things happen. It's so exciting to be in the 11th year of the show and to still have new things to do.
I know, and every so often I think, where can we go here? Like, going into 2023, it's like, what's going to be the thing for 2023? I don't think there's anything that we can do. But actually, there's new stuff with the YouTube channel, the shorts, the monetization of YouTube, the
experience, the tour, the Soap Awards.
Exactly.
Please do feel free, if you are
constantly evolving.
If you're a conglomerate and you're not, doing horrible, nefarious things, and you want to sponsor us.
we did talk. I mean, if people are wondering, if you listen to the Street Talk episode a few weeks ago where we said we're going to have adverts on the podcast, we've hit some snags there.
Literally though, can I just explain this? We literally thought we could just press a button and it would work, but it hasn't, and we haven't done anything else. We haven't actually been proactive at all. We've just gone, okay. It's a bit too busy to work out what's going on. Yeah, so we're not pursuing it properly. We probably could do more than we are, which is nothing.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that people don't mind really, because
it's fine. Nobody really wants adverts, but it's fine. So thank you, everybody. We are so excited. The thing is about Coronation Street is it really does feel like the year builds up to a climax at the end, where you get to Christmas and the New Year, where things really kind of change a little bit.
The award season. Conversation Street.
Don't know what's going to happen. Don't know who's going to get all the awards.
Don't know who's going to get bumped off by Stephen Reed.
Who's going to get the Bobbins Awards in January 2024? Are we going to do TikTok? No. You
never know. That might be our thing for 2024.
It might be 2024.
I created a TikTok account for Conversation Street last year. We haven't done much. I think Alma Vaney might follow us.
Is there any new? What's the new social media thing? Anything?
I don't bloody know.
But it's having a blue tick on Twitter, isn't it? We're not paying for that.
Oh yeah, that's
not at the moment.
Anyway, we've been wrapping this podcast up for a little while, and we need to go. We need to have our tea. I need to upload this. So thank you everybody for listening. Do please write in the comments if you're on YouTube, or send us emails and let us know how you've been feeling about 2023 so far. Has it been a good first half of the year? What's your favourite storylines going to be?
Don't forget.
What have they been? Sorry.
Most important thing. I've got
What?
2 things to tell you before we sign off, and then we're going to go. Number 1, look after your teeth. Number 2, it's Michael's birthday on Sunday, the 2nd of July. And he is 4-0. So, if you'd like to send him tribute in the form of, I don't know.
Go for it.
Videos, voice messages, piles
of
of money, or apple ties and J2O mango flavour. Please do feel free.
Tell you who does look after their teeth. Cassandra Plummer. Did you see those chompers?
I don't agree.
They made her up so well. Her face to look like a skanky drug addict.
No,
but
I don't agree with this.
There's something in the universe of Coronation Street that if you're a drug addict, you've got lovely teeth.
Say what you want about
Abby and Cassie.
Say what you want about Weatherfield Council and their parking permit debacle and the whole recycling glass thing, but what they do is fund their dental programs properly.
It's that Lawrence, isn't it?
He's got so much time on his hands.
Yeah.
Now. Right, that's the end.
Right, goodbye everybody. See ya.
Bye.